What's up, guys? It's Chris. Welcome back to VHP Engines. We're bringing some news in here from Baytech again. It's been a while since we got to speak about Baytech. I've been meaning to speak about Baytech because he did something that was cool as fuck a while back. But then we've been talking back and forth about his recent D16 build. And he was having issues with head lifting and whatnot. And, well, we got around that. But he did something I thought was cool as fuck and deserved a shout out. And I've encouraged him to do like his own little video. He should definitely do that. And also, he did something else that I wanted to talk about that I didn't. So now we can jam both of those together real quick and make a thing of it. But this one really pushed me to do it because it's something that you can do yourself. So he didn't get ARP, genuine ARP studs. I think he got some like cheap brand off of eBay. And I'm not opposed to doing cheap brands, guys. You know, I'll try out, whatever. I don't care. But of course, what I would try versus what I would recommend to people are completely different. So what he did do was get the time search for his D16, and apparently the threads for the K20 or the K series head bolts are the same as the D16. And of course, I know I have D16 head bolts around here, so I'm gonna go dig for them and put the bolts as a side by side and see if they both work, or if it's just because the time cert he used. But I would imagine that, yeah, that would be fine, because he was going to use ARPs, and the ARPs or the ARP knockoffs, and I'm sure he got those for a D series and it fit. So the key to making the K series bolts fit in the D series is, he said, it cut off about 18 millimeters. So every time you think cut, you got to try and make it as clean as possible. You got that problem with abrasion. So I think the only inconvenient thing for me to be doing this on a mass scale is I'm going to have to take the set of bolts to work. So that way I can use my air tools at work to cut these. But I would imagine that the bolt being as relatively small as it is, that it wouldn't be hard and it'd be pretty quick. So I could do that on the weekend or whatnot, and go in there, go do something on my off time and just trim the bolts short. And then use a wire brush, the wire brush wheel, to clean off any of the extra gunk that's maybe stuck at the bottom, or any imperfections. But I'm definitely going to try this personally for me. Like, I'm definitely going to try this in the near future. I have fuck tons of K-series head bolts, and I don't want to buy ARPs if I don't have to. As a matter of fact, what kept me from finishing a D-series long block back a while ago was the fact that I didn't feel like spending the money on ARPs. So now this is an option, and I have fuck tons of them. And also, the great thing about this is we know where the strength lands for the K-series head bolt. Cumble Performance churns out stock long blocks on a regular, making 600 plus horsepower. The first time I think we had a failure that we knew about, like, not the first one, but not too long ago, within the last 6 to 8 months or whatnot, the head lifted. So it didn't even throw a rod or anything like that, and the head lifted, and that was a 700 wheel horsepower. So that gives you an area to know where you're gonna where those K-series head bolts are gonna set. That's why, and that's also the reason why that I add used head bolts in the K-series kit, because we already know that those head bolts are good for around 700 horsepower. So let's just say 650 to be safe, but 650 horsepower is a big ass chunk of power. So if you can get old K-series head bolts to use and still make power like that, then why not? Like, if you live in a city that's populous or whatnot, you go to the junkyard, you can literally pull those bolts for like, what, maybe 20 bucks? I'm not sure. I don't know how much they charge for that, but for sure, that's what you could definitely go to the junkyard and just pull them yourself and grab some. But me, again, like I said, I've been buying fuck tons of K-series long blocks for the last couple of years, so I have an abundance. Now, for the D-series, the stock head bolts or whatever, I chuck them, because I don't do stock rebuilds for the D-series anymore, so I don't care to keep them. There's no reason for me to. But the K-series, I know they're valuable, and I don't. And as a matter of fact, on a long block that I'm planning on doing, that's what I was going to do. I was just going to keep the stock head bolts. Again, that just depends on what route I decide to go with my K-series or whatnot. But if any of the NA bolts, or any of the NA builds, or any build that I know is going to be under 7, you just use the stock head bolts. So if you want to see more detail on that, I would definitely say go subscribe to Baytech on YouTube, and also follow his IG, because I do believe he does upload more to Instagram, or he does put updates about more on Instagram more often and more regularly than YouTube. Not to say that he would skip out on talking about on YouTube. It's just that it comes quicker. I think there may be some delay between like when he actually gets it worked out versus when he takes the time to film it. Now, and the other thing I want to talk about that Baytech did that was cool as fuck was, you know how there's a lot of harping and complaining and moaning about the oiling for the single cam. Well, he took the girdle of the single cam and like, I think it was mineral spirits or maybe it was water. I can't remember. It was a while back now. And he just, put it on the holes, the oiling holes, and you can see like that in certain areas of the girdle, there's high volumes of flow versus other parts of the girdle where there's low volume. So this guy fucking cut into the tube on the girdle and added his own tube and welded it in and increased the fuck out of flow all the way around. So it was cool as fuck. It's one of those things that's really neat. I wanted to make a video at the time. I didn't think it was enough by itself to stand alone. So, take a little bit of piece of information here, a little bit of piece of information there, and you bring it together and you got some content. But, and that's got nothing to do with the crankshaft. That's just got to do with the oil flow through the girdle itself. So, there's that. And so yeah, that's cool as fuck. Some cool shit that he did there. And the only thing that sucks that I can't really say it's necessarily for the everyman because of the fact that you got to be able to weld to do this upgrade. Also, this is one of those things where, man, that if this dude was here in the States, I think he'd be making a killing because you could make that as a service. Because of course you need to be able to keep your mains, you just keep your mains with your block, right? So he can make it a service where you can send your fucking mains to him. He can make the modification and send it back to you. And then boom, you got a huge fucking oiling upgrade. That'd be great. He does a lot of shit over there that's cool as fuck that would kill over here. So it's one of those things where I wish, that I could afford to take the time to do something like that because I think the way he did was awesome. I would love to do that. That's one of those things where it's like a goal thing. Like if I get to the point where I can open up a shop and I can do shit like that, definitely will. But the problem is with cutting and modification and fabrication and shit like that, it takes extra amount of time that the regular engine building just doesn't do. It doesn't take, right? So like the same thing with my situation with ported pumps, right? Like I had a huge stash. I have 3 that I need to do, which I'm going to be doing tomorrow. And it just took me a while to get to them, and I didn't rush to get back to them for the same reason why I didn't get back to porting that manifold, just because of the fact that sitting down and grinding and cutting and it takes a lot of time. So it takes a lot of time for one thing that doesn't necessarily sell for a high dollar. So it's like for me to cut the pump, I can't remember how much it takes, how much time it took, but I want to say maybe an hour or more to do it right. I'll retime myself tomorrow. So and then I guess it's not bad if you think about the return, but like the B series pump I sell for $120, and then there's of course like the shipping to account for. So how much time versus labor am I spending? And then again, there's the D series oil pump, which of course is the most popular choice because that's the one everybody's concerned about the most. And I sell that for $80. Why? I keep the price low because there are options that ACL has on there on eBay that you can buy from them. And so I have to undercut to make it worthwhile. But of course, also too, it's not a brand new pump. It's a used pump. Now, of course, the pump is something that I'm inspecting, checking measurements on and clearances to make sure it's healthy and able to be reused. But, at the end of the day, it's one of those things where I can have a whole bunch of them and to make use of them because I don't want to throw away things if I don't have to. I used to throw away my old oil pumps, like not recently, not over the last couple of years, only because I've been lazy. But years ago, I used to just throw them away because I had one bad experience where the pump was bad. And it's a big hassle to go and change a pump once the engine's in the car. So I just, as a rule of thumb, I don't do that anymore. Or I didn't until I started measuring them. And same thing with the head gaskets. There's a lot of people that, they'll fucking pull the head off and they'll throw the head gasket back on there. Me, it's a no-go for me because I will not do a head gasket replacement in the car. If a head gasket blows on an engine of mine, the whole engine's coming out. I'm taking the whole thing out. I'm not pulling the head off in the car. It's extremely uncomfortable. If the car is slammed, you're bending over at awkward angles. Even if it's not, you're still bending over at awkward angles and try and get this thing off versus having it directly in front of you on an engine stand or on the ground. So anyway, I kind of got sidetracked there. I didn't want to take away from Baytech, but guys, go follow Baytech on Instagram. Instagram is super important to follow. Go follow him on YouTube. The guy does a lot of interesting shit. Like, I think that it shows in his recent growth because I want to say a year ago he was just coming up at around the 1,000 subscriber mark, and now he's already at 6K. I wouldn't be surprised if within the next year he overtakes me, and it would be justified. He has a lot of badass cars that he does over there in Scotland, and it's cars that we consider exotic, and he's making really big power, and he's doing a lot of interesting fabrication shit. So I think they even to get the Turbo K in his RX-7, it was, some work. So and he's also one of those guys that I have on my bucket list to meet. Like I said, guys, I think that in the next couple of years, I'll be definitely traveling on the worldwide scale. And the UK and Australia are two of the places that stand out in my head as first going to destinations, simply because of the fact that it would be easier to travel abroad going to a place where people speak the same language. And then after that, maybe go to Japan or whatnot. So Japan is definitely something that me and my wife have been agreeing on even when we first met. Especially when we lived in Korea, we were so close, but, we were poor at the time. All right, guys. Again, thanks for watching. Again, go check out Baytech. And peace.